Welcome back as we continue with our counting backwards through the years, picking up where we left off and diving deep to see just how many hurricanes and years have been Doppler weaponized in this world of hot water that we're in today. In 2009. Claudette. So Claudette came in being pulled up by KVX, and as we can see, KTLH has a beam. But it gets brought up and it dies, killed between KGWX, KBMX, KDGX, and KMOB. It just dies in between. Doesn't go any further. Was this not a storm they intended? Were they doing a certain kind of a test? I don't know. Just noticing. This one does miss them all, but you do have the red-green interaction, and a product needs to be ordered for further detail. Ida. So 2009 was a year that they really didn't want these storms in the US. They were drawn in, and one was killed up here, one's killed in here. So they're definitely showing off their hurricane stopping abilities. It looks like it was going into KLIX, KMOB. I mean, none of this counts as official. You need the animated product to be sure. But we can see that of the ones that are there, that this is how it would be. KMOB, and then it's pushed out and it goes into and dies right around KEVX. And that's one of the places they chart it. See, and it changes track right there. Which is, I mean, look, you see. Right over there, it just changes track and it dies. So, I'm not sure. Was the objective to test the starting of these storms, and so the end was not necessary to see through because that was not part of an objective they were ready for, politically or for strategically for whatever reasons. Is this a natural hurricane? I mean, do hurricanes still occur outside of their controlled computer modeling? There's a lot of computer modeling, which I believe these programs are run on. But it's incredible to say. I mean, we see a system of daily hacking of the hydrological cycle, but when did it start? And you go back and you say, well, this can't be. This can't be. Well, if it is, it has to have been brought up through the years. And there's got to be different testing phases. There's got to be a period where a bleed through between what real nature, the forcing of nature, the going with nature, to the straight up hacking of it and breaking of it and redirecting of it. Hydrological companies in the United States have been engaged in weather modification projects, cloud seeding, for 50 years ongoing. They have been funneling the clouds as necessary. So hard to tell what the objective was originally, but they definitely did not want any storms to make landfall in 2009. 2008 is a busy year. Multiple storms, not only in the bulk of the Gulf, in certain channels, and not only that, but they continue into the mainland. They don't get stopped at the border, so to speak. So, let us see. Ike. Major Hurricane Ike. Because we're not going to bother with the tropical storms per se, except Faye is interesting. Well, let's look at Faye for a second, shall we? Faye. zigzags all across everywhere, going a really interesting route. I mean, even backwards and forth. Seems to hit Doppler radar, but then avoids them. You know, seriously zigzagging. So was this a steering exercise? Ike rolls in towards KHGX and around it, but not into it. Right on the Texas border. And actually, that's quite a intersection of activity there that year. Gustav, Major Hurricane Gustav. KPOE draws it in. KSHV towards KSRX before KLZK draws it in, and all others blow it apart. Let's check out what we got. Here's the thing, they call it Gustav, right? They didn't call it Georgie Porgy, right? I really don't have the radars for Cuba. Well, actually, here's an article. Cuba modernizes its weather radar network. Oh, goody. See, there's a cycle of storm and pushing the need for further communicating and better weather prediction, and then upgrades in radar, and then more storms, and then having a narrative of needing more communication, better improvements in technology, and more radar capability. It's a vicious cycle, really. The end results justifies the technology that creates the end results, justifies the technology which creates the end results, justifies the technology. Get it? So when we go back here, it was a major hurricane over here, huh? Over Casablanca. I mean, right here you've got these two guys, right? Cuba doesn't modernize till 2018. But there's a lot of years of Doppler radar in action. And what exactly the objective is, I don't know. I'm just looking for patterns. Keeping an open mind, taking it all in. Moving on. Ike. Humberto. Humberto was the first hurricane to make landfall since Rita. The hurricane is notable for its exceptionally rapid intensification near the coast of Texas from a tropical depression into a hurricane within 19 hours. KHGX brings it in, then blooms out, pushing the hurricane off of it and towards KLCH. Beams, possibly from KFWS, steers it off of KLCH as storm continues inland, guided by KPOE before the massive nationwide Doppler bloom breaks the storm apart. Alberto! So Tropical Storm Alberto goes into KTLH, driven into KVAX, and goes into and killed at KCAE, probably by the surrounding others. Ernesto. Ernesto goes into KAMX, and then KMLB, then KLTX, then KKQ, around KLWX, and then between the others into and ending in Canada. Need to extend my current radar map of Doppler radar locations on the other side of the borders, both north and south. I'm still in the middle of research and assembling the mass amount of research that we have gathered so far. This is going to be an ongoing project because we are retelling history according to the truth that we have discovered that Doppler is steering the storms. It is not alone in this. There are other elements that add to its power and scope, but it is the element that we can document, actually. It is the consistent element. It is the one tangible part of the entire climate engineering and climate changing narratives. Ophelia. Rita. Now, Rita is personally interesting, and not that I was there, I was still hurricated from my Katrina hurricane. I was in New Orleans for Katrina. I got out a couple days after, and I had a feeling when I was packing my bags that I should be packing winter coats because I had seen what the city looked like and I was starting to do the math and I realized I wasn't going to be going back to work the following week or anytime soon in the following weeks thereafter. There was a lot of work to be done the following year and I would return. But at this point, Rita came to New Orleans, and right when we were going to be heading back home, we had to stay away, and sort of felt like they were going to be able to continue their social engineering experiment and see if they can fulfill their objective or their agenda. It was very convenient, and you could say, well, it missed New Orleans, but actually we got the heavy side of the rain from the storm. When you're on the west side, it's already dumped. It's drier. It's actually better to be on the west side of a storm than on the east side of the storm. The east side of the storm is where the water is and the rain is at. So in this case, we got a lot of water, and a lot of people who had survived damage from Katrina had gotten damage from Rita. Interesting. So Rita is brought in by KHGX and KLCH, but kept off of them and then dragged into KSHV, then KLZK. Charlie. So Charlie actually isn't a great example of a hurricane that completely misses Doppler radar. Now, we do have the beams on one of the Dopplers. It passes by, but it completely misses KMLB. It misses KTBW. So, was Charlie and comes around Cuba? Well, we know we've got some Dopplers in Cuba. But what drives it around? Were these two steering it? We would need to order a product to be sure if these two were steering it in between. But it definitely looks like it's making a beeline. Well, let's see, what else can we find on Charlie? There is, oh, right on that border, huh? Right on that border. We will be seeing it a lot in the coming years. So, and I can literally find no radar loops of Charlie hitting the East Coast, but in the preliminary pictures here, it does go into KLTX pretty directly. So was KLTX dragging it from that far away? Are they working with satellites at the same time? Or some space-based technology or drone or some sort of outfit that is coming at it from the top where they're triangulating on it? HARP working with it? I don't know. I don't know. All I can see is when these puppies are interacting with the hurricanes. So down here, it seemed like it was speeding right past both of these without going into either one of them, but it did end up going into KLTX. So just taking notes here. Just taking notes. The next one, Francis. Now Francis it doesn't make landfall into the Doppler radar, but it goes right into the one that's in the back here in Florida before changing course up into, so it goes in through here, KTBW, and then poof, gets into KTLH. And on the border, it skirts and turns kind of like the Doppler layout here. This one would be worth investigating. And then what, that goes all the way up until what? Close by KRLX up there. Keeps going up. It's kind of hard to see after Canada. KRLX. KPPZ. And when you get up in here, it looks a little off. They keep it in the States, I guess. Huh? Okay, so this one looks like it's going to be well aligned with all the Doppler radars once it hits KTBW. And that's Francis, 2004. Gaston. So Gaston appears to be brought in split between KLTX and KCLX, then directly into KRAX and KAKQ. Ivan. Grace. Okay, we don't have any radar loops for Grace, but here we have the tracking map, and it's pretty clear on this one. It's going in towards KHGX, and it moves into KGRK, and KFWS, and then KSRX. That's where it ends. It ends right there. Look, it ends right there. Okay, and there you have Grace.
Henry.
Isabel. Isadore. So Isadore came up through here, touched on Cuba's tip before turning to Puerto Rico, and did a loop-de-loop before making a straight up, what is this, 90-degree turn into KLIX, and then going up. So Hurricane Isadore. Interesting. So let's take a look here. We have on the tip, we have a Doppler radar on the tip. Here, let's put these guys on the side here. It's coming up. And it goes to the tip before turning. Okay. And then goes to the Yucatan and does a loop-de-loop right about here, huh? And then it comes up in here, and of course we have our Doppler radar. And right over here we have KLIX, right? And right in the... Trust me, there's a little Lake Pontchartrain right here, and there's the KLIX right there. And there you have it, folks. Yeah, just finally found a map showing some radar in Mexico. And now we can see, back in 2002, they did it too. Lily. Hurricane Lily. It's kind of like a deja vu. It goes right through the same point as our Isadore. And it's going into Louisiana, this time a little bit west of the last track. The last one Isadore went up in the same point, looped around the Yucatan and came up. This one, same point, but is able to, well, I guess this time they were able to send it up without having to loop it around the Yucatan. Good for them, making progress here. Actually, I don't know if that was the objective, but you have to wonder, 2 in a row that are follow the same path, go through the same point, end up in the same state. This time skipping one of the other Doppler radars. So this one misses. So you can see here, we're on the same point. And then this one they bring in through the weak spots of the Doppler between the valleys, bring it around pretty much exactly along the arc. There must have been blowing out these Doppler radars. And here it comes up to KNQA, where it ends. It ends right here at the KNQA. So they buffer it, they keep it off of their Dopplers on this one, and they end it. All right. Fellow humanity, this is where we leave you for today. We are in no way done going backwards in time in our count, nor forward in our recounting of the life and world that is Tesla's, but pause now to rest and soak it all in. When we return, we'll not only pick back up with the 2001 hurricane season and explore Hurricane Erin, which headed for New York City on 9/11. But we will also start on our study of Doppler-created drought and the creation and increased prevalence of atmospheric rivers and the steering thereof that has today put us in a world of hot water. To be continued.